Welcome to Star Memoirs, your destination for unforgettable celebrity legacies. Our first news is this. Val Kilmer wrote candidly about life, love, and Top Gun. Revisit his memoir. Editor's note. In 2020, USA Today, editor Barbara Van Denberg reported on the emotional and striking revelations from Val Kilmer's memoir. Kilmer, then 60, had recently starred in the sequel to Top Gun, the 1986 film that helped make him a household name. In Top Gun Maverick, released 2 years after his memoir published and his final film role, Kilmer returned to the screen as Tom "Iceman" Kazansky. Upon news of Kilmer's death, we are republishing the story. The long-awaited sequel, Top Gun Maverick, is full of high-octane action and fist-pumping callbacks to the original 1986 film. But no moment is more moving than Pete "Maverick" Mitchell's, Tom Cruise, emotional reunion with Tom "Iceman" Kazansky, Val Kilmer. Kilmer battled throat cancer in the 2010s that required a tracheotomy, which still greatly impacts his speaking voice. That didn't hinder Kilmer from delivering the film's most emotional performance. I was very moved the first time I saw it. Almost 40 years is a long time for a reunion, Kilmer tells USA Today over email of the scene. Kilmer wrote about how he came to reprise his Top Gun role in his memoir, I'm Your Huckleberry, released in April 2020, revealing that he begged for his part. Kilmer begged to be in the Top Gun sequel. I didn't want the part. I didn't care about the film. The story didn't interest me. That's Kilmer talking about, of all movies, Top Gun. At first, he had wanted no part of the 1986 film that was destined to make him a megastar. When he was pressured by his agent to audition for it, he pouted. I showed up looking the fool, or the goon. I wore oversized gonky Australian shorts in nausea green. I read the lines indifferently, and yet, amazingly, I was told I had the part. I felt more deflated than inflated. Decades later, when the sequel starring Tom Cruise was announced, the tables were turned. Kilmer initially wasn't tapped to reprise his role as Iceman in Top Gun Maverick. But Kilmer writes, as the Temptations sang in the heyday of Motown soul, "Ain't too proud to beg." And his begging worked. The producers went for it. Cruise went for it. Cruise couldn't have been cooler. Tom and I took up where we left off. The reunion felt great. Daryl Hannah is his biggest romantic regret. Kilmer writes rapturously of his romances, and there were many. He was hopelessly in love with Carly Simon. He shared a romance that was as whimsical as it was whirlwind with Ellen Barkin. He fell hard for Cindy Crawford. I thought I could have died from her love, not because it was difficult, but because its delight was simply too much to bear. He was besotted with Angelina Jolie. When people ask me what Angelina Jolie is like, I always say she's like other women and other superstars, but just more. More gorgeous, more wise, more tragic, more magic. But two women in particular stand out, Cher and Hannah. Cher was one of Kilmer's formative romances. They met when he was 21 and she was in her mid-30s, after a mutual friend told him she wanted to meet him. Kilmer was not enthused by the prospect. I saw Cher as a less than fascinating character out of the gossip rags. I was not motivated to meet her, not out of snobbery, but simply because I was sure we had nothing in common. He was wrong. Cher was funny, hysterically funny. I ended up driving her home on the back of my Harley through the streets of Manhattan. She loved the Harley. We both loved laughing and went on doing so for well over a year. They've remained friends ever since, and Kilmer writes about how their friendship has deepened, calling Cher the funniest woman I ever met. But his most crushing romance was with Hannah when they briefly dated in 2001. I knew I would love her with my whole heart forever. That love, invisible, ephemeral, and infinite, has lost none of its strength, Kilmer writes. When they broke up, he cried every day for half a year. It was no great surprise that she wound up marrying Neil Young. It was a matter of one giant attracting another. Kilmer writes. Hannah began a relationship with a musician in 2014. They were married in 2018. Neil Young, I always loved you, but I'm afraid I hate you now. Cher helped Kilmer through his cancer. When Kilmer was diagnosed with throat cancer in 2015, Cher was by his side. Kilmer was staying in Cher's guest house when his cancer scare suddenly turned into a cancer emergency. He had already discovered the lump in his throat and had difficulty breathing. Then, Kilmer writes, "Suddenly I awoke vomiting blood that covered the bed like a scene out of The Godfather. They called an ambulance as blood dripped down my body, my vision blurred, my energy drained. Cher got him into the ambulance, and Kilmer woke up in a hospital in Santa Monica, California, where he got a tracheotomy. Later, after Cher made a few calls and got him transferred to UCLA, he would undergo chemotherapy and radiation. Kilmer says the cancer is gone, but its scars linger. When I speak now, I sound like Marlon Brando after a couple of bottles of tequila. It isn't a frog in my throat, more like a buffalo," he writes. Speaking, once my joy and lifeblood has become an hourly struggle. The instrument over which I had complete mastery is now out of my control. Kilmer says he was visited by an angel. Kilmer is a devout Christian Scientist, a faith passed down to him by his parents. He invokes his faith throughout the memoir, especially during his battle with cancer. He attributes his healing to God and not to the medical treatments he received. I went along with the program, mainly to reassure my children I was doing everything humanly possible to be healthy, he writes. They had been constantly taught by others in their lives to be wary of Christian Science, and although they had each had several extraordinary healings, in my opinion, I respected their skepticism and did not wish to increase their fear in any way. In the book's most striking passage, Kilmer says he was visited by an angel. On a trip to New Mexico when he was 24, Kilmer awoke to an amorphous black figure. He writes, "It will ruin the absolute gravity of this moment, but in truth, this dark angel looked very like Darth Vader, though without the helmet." Kilmer says the angel reached into his body and extracted his heart to replace it with a bigger one. At first, I thought it was the angel of death, before realizing it was the angel of life. I wish I could elucidate the experience more than I have already done, but I can't. It simply happened, Kilmer writes. I have nothing else to say about this, except that I am grateful for the new heart. It has served me well, and I've only just begun to use it. Influencer, Emily Kiser. Files. Lawsuit to keep son Trig's death details private. Emily Kiser wants to mourn the loss of her child out of the public eye. The influencer, whose 3-year-old son Trig Kiser died May 18th following what she described as an accidental drowning at their home, filed a lawsuit against multiple Maricopa County, Arizona public offices to keep records containing details about the toddler's passing private, according to documents obtained by NBC News May 29th. In the filing, Emily expressed concerns about her family's privacy being invaded, saying that over 100 public record requests have already been made with the Chandler, Arizona City, and the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office since Trig's May 18th death. Emily and her family desperately want to grieve in private, but sadly, the public will not let them, the document read. Trig's death has become a media frenzy. The suit went to say that part of why Emily, who also shares son Theodore, 2 months, with her husband Brady Kiser, doesn't want the details to be disclosed to the public, is because she does not want to be exposed to the information herself. After all, according to the suit, the content creator never plans to review the police report, security camera footage, body camera footage, or autopsy reports for the case. The records requested presumably reveal graphic, distressing, and intimate details of Trig's death that have no bearing on government accountability, the filing continued. To allow disclosure in these circumstances would be to turn Arizona's public records law into a weapon of emotional harm rather than a tool of government transparency. Emphasizing that Emily is going through a parent's worst nightmare, the lawsuit added, Emily is trying her best to be there for her surviving son, 2-month-old Theodore, but every day is a battle. In response to her lawsuit's filing, Maricopa County's Office of the Medical Examiner spoke out on its efforts to maintain the family's privacy amid the tragedy. When Maricopa County learned the family was pursuing a court order to prevent the release of these records, Director of Communications for Maricopa County Jason Berry told NBC News May 29th. The Office of the Medical Examiner worked with the family to place a seal on the record. Thank you for watching. Like and comment. Subscribe.